I think I spent something like $90,000 last year just on like food and travel.
Jeez.
It's a very low floor potentially, but the ceiling's also very high.
I'm Rob. And I'm Julian. Today we're in the Bronx competing to see who can have the best day of meals for under $50.
I'll say this is the most perfect torta bread I've ever had.
Carrot cake with nuts and raisins. This just came out of the oven. It's literally steaming.
This is the pork rib dinner. I really like this.
How do you stand out, especially in New York?
You've got to execute that storyline as well.
I gotta like honor this place. I have a sense of duty about this city.
I heard this is the best restaurant in the Bronx.
Yeah.
Just spoke with the owner, Yusuf. He's from Eritrea. 3 generations of people just walk by me, all eat breakfast together.
New York City is the greatest city in the world. And things like this prove why it's true.
Which platform is most important to the way you do your business?
It's TikTok.
Julian destroys on TikTok. I would probably keep YouTube.
You said that you had thrown away 2 fully edited episodes.
I crashed out in New Orleans, threw it in the bin.
The main product is Feasting on $50. Basically, it could be 15 minutes, could be half an hour, and you guys are in a neighborhood of, or a borough of New York, say, or you're in a different city, and it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you guys compete. You go and you each get breakfast, and then you post it on your Instagram, and people vote who had the better meal, and then there's a bit of a game show element, like kind of like Mario Kart bonuses is how you guys always describe it, and it puts like a limitation on the next round. You do these 3 rounds, first person to get to 151 points, which is, is 100% of the vote, and the points is whatever percentage of the vote. First person to get to 151 points wins. How did you land on this? Why was this the concept by which to launch Martinez and Mu?
The one thing we have is a lot of ideas. So we definitely brainstormed a lot of different things. One of the initial origins is I have a series called Feeding on 15. And before that, it's called Dining on a Dozen, which is where I took the idea of having $12 or $15 for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and trying to basically just see what I can get throughout the day. That was, I haven't done that in a while, but that was one of the original ideas that we've had. And it was just like, how can we make that more interesting into a long form video? How can we make that into, something that we both do together? And yeah, I think it also happens to really fall under this kind of affordability, I don't know the right word, era that we're in right now. And it became this idea that the more and more we thought about it, the more interesting it sounded. And also it kind of came into this idea where Rob was focusing on different cities and different places. So it really kind of all came together into this one idea.
Yeah, originally it was an adaptation of Feeding on 15. It's so funny. It was Dining on a Dozen, Feeding on 15, and now it's Feasting on 50. So that really shows you where we're at as a country. But I think the $50 thing, when Julian was doing Feeding on 15, like he was really scraping the bottom there. Like,
it was tough.
It was going to be a bagel, it's an insane series. $50 feels to me a little bit more like if you're traveling to a city and you have $50, like these are 3 good options, like it's not so much about, maximizing that $50. One particular thing that like we always kind of like draw it as like the stakes. And I think that's one thing that like we liked about Feasting on 50 was like this feeling of like there were stakes and people voting and limitations and obstacles.
It's a game show.
But yeah, it's a game show. It's fun. We do get a lot of comments of people saying like they wish it was just us walking around the city and choosing stuff. And I see where people are coming from. I think there's kind of a dearth of good YouTube food content and people just want that comforting thing back.
Yeah.
Whereas we always came at it from an angle of like, we just wanted to do something different. We wanted these obstacles. We wanted these stakes. And we wanted a show where we couldn't decide in advance where we're going to go. And it wasn't just a list, But it's funny. It's funny the way that like where it's sitting right now in YouTube. And I think we're pretty comfortable with where it's at.
Wait. I want to ask about the dearth. So when we first spoke, you mentioned how you sort of miss this earlier Munchies eater era of YouTube, which I was a big consumer of. I feel like, I don't know, even as recently as like 5 years ago, I'm on my lunch break. I'm watching one of these videos. It's like 15 minutes. I'm watching it. Wow, this is great. It's a part of my day. I love it. But maybe my tastes have changed, whatever. But I'm not doing that as much anymore. But speak more about this dearth and like how you are competing with what is there.
Yeah, I mean, one of the main things, it's not necessarily other creators, but it is like if you search up on YouTube, like where should I, I'm traveling to Austin, I'm traveling to New York, I'm traveling to LA, and even maybe not the top tourist visited cities too. Like there will always be top 5 places to eat, top 10 places to eat. So if we did a vlog type thing, it would still be fun. I think that would be honestly a good day for us to spend, but it does go more into that side of things where it's kind of listing out like, oh, we wanted to go eat here. We wanted to go eat here. And I think that's what Rob is referencing, where it's like, oh yeah, there are still videos of people saying like, these are the go-to spots in Japan. These are the go-to spots in Seoul. So I think that's kind of what it is. And it's just like, how can we view things just slightly differently? We're still going to great places and we're truly hoping to make a day that people can follow, but just in a way that's like not fully listing places out and us just going and eating.
Yeah. I want to say something about like your styles and how it's expressed in your work. I'm thinking like of one example. There's the Feasting on 50 Bronx video where, Julian, you end up at I think it's called like Golden Taquito 2, something like this. And I think neither of you had ever heard of it. Oh, Taquito 1.
Taquito 1. Yeah.
Neither of you have ever heard of it or been there. And that's part of the magic of the show is it's like, oh, well, shit. Like I have to really quickly find something. Let me look it up on Google Maps. Here's somewhere that's near me. This seems good. And it's this natural discovery. But I'm going to try to characterize your two styles here. And I'm probably going to be slightly wrong. I'm curious if you think I'm right. But Rob, I see your specialty as the sort of like boots on the ground, human interest, food journalism. And Julian, I see your specialty as a consumer of both of your content. I see your specialty as a series producer. You're really good at these series concepts. This concept came out of concepts on your own channel, right? I also found this post on the R Food NYC subreddit from the end of 2024 titled "Tired of Fake Food Influencers? Who are the real NYC food Instagram accounts worth following?" There are 176 replies here, and both of you get a lot of shine. But there's one comment that I think really expressed what I just said, too. I'm going to read it. Rob is the best at making you want to drive up to Rockland County or Westchester to get a hot dog from a deranged genius or cry about a human interest story within a 2-minute video about a taqueria. His content is tremendous, which is why it's so frustrating he gets endlessly dunked on by Mu in challenges, which is kind of cute, right? But to me, that expresses like the kind of journalism you do, Rob, and the kind of like your understanding of a series and how what makes a series, what makes like a concept work, Julian, right? So all of that to say, like, do you think that fairly characterizes the strengths you bring and why this dynamic works? Because earlier you said that you guys wanted to work together because there was this vibe, there was this dynamic, and that's from the outside how I'm seeing the two pieces coming together here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think Julian actually puts it best at the end of the Austin episode, which is coming out in like 5 hours or something. Basically, he said, he said, Rob chooses places that you want to go and you want to visit and you want to be a part of it. And Julian goes to places where you just want to put that food in your mouth. Mm-hmm. And so that is kind of what's always playing out, where Julian is picking like this incredible stuff. And I'm just so stuck in like, I got to like honor this place. And I have a sense of duty about this city. And I mean, the most basic thing about why Julian and I work together is because I love the places that Julian goes to, you know, in this kind of creator world, you know, a lot of folks don't choose where they go. Not to be like vague about it, but you know, there's a lot of invitations, there's a lot of pay for play. Julian always has chosen where he wants to go, or he's always found a creative way to get a great recommendation from somebody that you want to hear from. And so I've always respected that about Julian. I've always respected his choices, and that's why we work together. Mm-hmm. And that's why the show works, is because he chooses great spots. I choose great spots. The judgment is maybe a little bit out of, I don't want to say it's out of whack, but the judgment adds this sort of tension to that, to our individual styles that I think works well.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's very authentic and genuine in the spots that we go to. And I think that's hopefully what comes through. It's not that Rob is like, oh, what is the oldest place that I can find here? What is this cool character that I can put on the show? No, like that is, if you talk to him outside of the show, if you talk to him normally, like that is truly what interests him. That's what gets him out of bed. And for me, I mean, I enjoy that, but yeah, for me, I'm just like, oh my goodness, did you see this food? Like but it's usually not like the sensationalized food. It's like, the best this in this city, but it's like, oh my goodness, there's this combination that you can only find in Boston, that you can only find in the Bronx. And sometimes it does match up with like food that is popular or food that is known. But yeah, there definitely is. And I think that comes through, which is like our foundational interests are very similar. But when it comes to specific places and how we think about like, ooh, if I had free reign, where do I want to go? That does look slightly different. And I think that's one of the main reasons why this show works.
Yeah, the point of the game is just is like a point of creative friction for you to produce the video. It's not to win. It's just like how you make the video and like the guardrails that produce the video. But I use the word guardrails. When we first spoke, you said that I'm quoting, there's an important logistics component to your work together, that you had to put up specific guardrails for the second season. What are these guardrails and what are they protecting you from?
So, well, we're talking specifically about production.
Yeah.
When we're talking about guardrails. Within the context of the show, we talk about obstacles. Like the daily specials are obstacles that we can throw at each other that make us able to think on our feet and we have to change where we're going.
One is
when
like,
it comes to the
to give it a couple examples for the listener, like one is like flee 1 mile or stay 1 mile. You're locked in 1 mile radius, or you have to leave at least a 1 mile radius for the next one. Or peanut allergy, you can't eat food with peanuts. Or pescatarian, you can't eat any proteins but fish. Just an example for the listener.
Yeah, well, there's been some better ones lately. What was the one, Julian? Never Before Seen?
That's going to be a tough one. Yeah, that one was really good. And then we also had some good ones in Boston, Independence Day. Yeah, where we had, where it's like you could only get a cuisine of countries that have declared independence from England. So it's like it's like we have like fun with it, but it also is a challenge. But it's also interesting for people watching. It's like, oh, one, I've never thought that would be a challenge. And two, oh, I wonder where he goes. And it's like, I think that's, I keep going back to like an idea that goes half a layer deeper or a full layer deeper. It's like, oh, not only am I wondering where he will go in this competition and he only has $20 left, but now he has this challenge that he also has to add on. So it does kind of keep layering. And, as long as we don't make it overly complicated, I think that's another reason why the show works out well.
We had a comment yesterday that was like, "Hey, first time watcher, is it a bit that Rob always loses?" And
it is. It is a bit.
It's not a bit. It's real. I mean, but it's like, anyway, whatever. I'm comfortable with where we're at. But in terms of the guardrails, really quickly, which are not that interesting. The obstacles are interesting. The daily specials, the kind of like 45-minute time limit in the beginning, the budget. Those are interesting. Guardrails, in terms of production, it's not so interesting. It was just more about making it so that we know that we can produce this show, and also keep producing our other two channels as well, and to work on new projects, which we both want to do. So we kind of implemented this calendar that's about basically when we're in season, it's every 2 weeks, and that's 4 episodes. So it's 2 months. 4 episodes come out, and then there's a 2-month gap where we are shooting and logging footage, because we also do our cut downs as well. So before we hand it to the editor, Julie and I actually do a pass of all of our footage. So there's time to do all of that and then get the editor ready to go. And then during these 2 months that the show is actually in season, we're just worried about giving feedback, and we can also produce all of our other content as well. So that's kind of where we're at now. So Austin will be the end of this initial 2-month period. There'd be a 2-month break, and then we come back.
If you're a creator, you probably did not get into this to spend hours uploading files, writing tags, organizing assets, and digging through analytics. That's why OpenVideo built an MCP server just for creators. It lets an AI agent manage the operational side of your video business from a single prompt, uploading, tagging, organizing, and analyzing your entire channel for you. And unlike traditional platforms, it all happens on infrastructure you control. So let AI do the busy work while you do the important work of creating content your audience can't live without. See how you can do more with AI at open.video/MCP. That's open.video/MCP. You guys both have your own separate audiences, and I want to ask about that in a second. But I will say that, Rob, you have 1.56 million across YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Substack. And Julian, you have 616,000 across YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Martinez and Mu is on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Total audience is 48K, which is a fraction of your individual audiences. Why give Martinez and Mu a dedicated page across these platforms as opposed to just doing collab posts from your main accounts, which you do already do? But why give it a dedicated page and make it its formal thing?
Yeah. I mean, I'll quickly take here because I think Rob has better thoughts on this. But this was a very intentional decision. And it came down to a couple different things. One, it just makes sense to have it be separate because we are trying at its core to build Martinez and Mu as its own foundation. So one of the things we were thinking, it's like, if Martinez and Mu can only survive off of my following, off of Rob's following, it probably wouldn't be as sustainable or wouldn't be as interesting. I think growing that organic Martinez and Mu community in itself is just, it's also just very exciting. Two, we do have, I mean, there's definitely a lot of overlap, but it's not fully overlapped. So what could be interesting, you know, the parts of Martinez and Mu that are more my style, or the parts of Martinez and Mu that are more Rob style, could maybe not be for everyone on each other's following. So it just made a lot more sense for us to find a community and find some people who are interested in what we do together.
Yeah, I don't know how in the weeds you want to get. I know this is like creator spotlight and creators watch this. So I think that initially you mentioned my following, which is just so much bigger than Julian's, and we always have to talk about that, even though I lose on the show.
We could talk about real winners here.
We could talk about who's really winning. When you really lay it out like that, you know, who's the real winner of Martinez and Mu. But no, I'm just kidding. But because I had a big YouTube following, and also I will say one of the reasons that Julian's following is lagging behind is because he did not listen to me about YouTube Shorts.
This is accurate. Yeah, absolutely.
That is accurate.
Let me say, on YouTube, your YouTube is your largest following with 876K at the time of recording, but you only have like 3 long form videos on there. And I looked at them like, that's weird. Like, these don't even have like a ton of views, but it's because you're a short form specialist and you are killing it on YouTube Shorts. So,
but this is kind of the issue. So yeah, I told Julian to get on YouTube earlier. If he had been on YouTube earlier, we'd probably have a very similar following. But because my YouTube was popping, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to have like, you know, different shows on here, and I have friends who I would love to work with and produce their shows, and I'll just distribute it on this because my YouTube's popping. But then I had a conversation with, and I guess I'll name drop, Alvin Zhao, who is a great creator. Like, I love his work so much. And so we were chatting, and I was kind of like, you know, being like, oh, this is my great idea. And he was like, that's not it, dude. Don't do that. He sort of said, he's like, think of your channel as like a bakery, and it's a bakery where you sell a cookie, and people come and get that cookie every day, and they love the cookie, right? And then one day you start selling a brownie instead. They might buy the brownie and like the brownie, but the next day that they come back, they're like, is this bakery going to be baking cookies or brownies? Like, what is it doing, you know? And so you create that kind of lack of trust. And so he actually has his massive YouTube channel where he does recipes that are super involved. And he started an entire new channel for his documentary style work called Alvin Zhao Films. So, and his first video did crazy numbers on that. So once I saw that once I talked to him and once I saw what he was doing, I was like, okay, my channel is about creating these really kind of like soulful interviews and highlighting these kind of underdogs, and people expect that from me, and I give them that, and they love that, and I love doing it. And so I don't want them to receive something wildly different, right? That will hurt the actual thing that I produce, and it will hurt the new thing that I'm trying to produce. And you see the same sort of difference between short form and long form, where it's like maybe my long form has the chance to see a big audience because I have a bigger audience on YouTube, but that audience is mostly mobile because they're mostly viewing short form content. And so maybe it would make sense for me to try to build a long form channel separately, or maybe it makes more sense for me to just try to bring get a little bit closer in terms of style and sentiment on long form than I have been doing. So anyway, long answer to say that basically, I think both of us, we have an understanding of what people who like our channel like and want. Yeah. And it's our job to produce that and to make that. And that's what keeps the lights on. And that's what we love doing. And then this is a new one where we're going to create a new audience that expects this one thing, that loves this one thing. And that's going to be really different. And we're excited to do that.
Yeah. I like how you're framing it. Like the bakery example was good, where it's like on the internet, specifically on these short form video platforms, like people go to a channel for one specific thing. You go to the brownie channel, you go to the cookie channel, you go to the bread channel, etc. And like if you're making a new concept, you need to make a new fit for purpose channel. One quick question about platforms for both of you. I personally consume both of your content primarily through Instagram. I'm not a TikTok user. I am addicted to it enough. Social media platforms, right? Which, if you could only use one, like if you had to get rid of the others, which platform is most important to the way you do your business?
It's TikTok. For me, it's not.
Julian destroys on TikTok.
Sometimes, but I don't know. TikTok is just, Instagram is where potentially a lot more brands see it, but TikTok for me is just that real test. You can have these celebrities or these influencers with millions and millions of followers, and they'll post one video and it'll hit 10 million views, and the next video will hit 20K views, which is still good. But it's just like, it really goes to show you, like, it is, the platform is almost unapologetic in the sense of like, is this interesting to people or is this not? And of course, there's nuances everywhere, but at its core, I feel like that's what it is. And it's just, it feels like, it feels like a testing ground. It feels like a battleground where you really have to like earn your videos. And I think as someone who got into creating videos for fun, but also just to see like what could work, I think that for sure for me is the most exciting platform.
Yeah, I think TikTok also pays creators best on a per view basis by a pretty significant amount for short form. And so someone like Julian, who, like I said, he picks his own stories, and I think all of his videos have a much higher floor than a lot of other creators. So he can basically, make a pretty decent income just from TikTok. Whereas on Instagram, they don't pay you anything for posting, and on YouTube, the pay is about 10% on short form of what TikTok pays you.
Wow.
But I will say that I would probably keep YouTube. My videos do really well on YouTube. Also, I think long form is super interesting on YouTube and fun. Instagram would be second place because I think the community features on Instagram are the best. It's the best for messaging. It's the best for stories. And also it's the best for brand deals. And then I would rank TikTok third for me. Even though it does provide that floor with creator pay, it's like nominal compared to what a brand would pay on a YouTube or an Instagram partnership.
Well, let's talk about what a brand would pay. Let's talk about how you guys make money. I guess, Rob, let's keep it on you, then we'll go back to Julian, and then I'm curious about Martinez and Mu as a series. What are all the different ways you're making your money right now? You're listing brands, you're listing the creator payouts. Is it just those two, or do you have other ways you're making your money right now?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest piece of the pie for most creators, including me, is going to be a brand partnership.
Yeah,
so
that's what I see.
Yeah. and those are really important, and they feel kind of random, and maybe there's some like sales whisperer or agency that really has cracked the code, but from what I see from most creators, it's like a lot of it's inbound and being in the right place at the right time.
Who are you working with?
In terms of what?
Like what brands? What's an example of a brand deal you've done recently? Brand partnership?
I've worked with brands like Meta. I've worked with Chime, which is a banking brand. I've worked with Resi. And also I would say I say no to a lot of deals that don't really fit. I think those three fit pretty well into what I do. So yeah, those would make up the biggest portion of revenue. And then from there, there's platform revenue. So that's going to be at your AdSense and your TikTok creator fund. And then there's also subscriptions for like Substack or for Beehive or for Patreon or for YouTube memberships. And that's a growing sector. And I think that's long-term going to be super, super important for me. But right now it's a smaller piece of the pie.
Yeah. For me, it's, similar. It's brand deals and the platforms. That's by far the main two. Brand deals are definitely the ones that, like the biggest infusion of sustainability, I think. But as Rob said, super random. And I think for both of us, we like to say no more than we like to say yes. Because of that, it makes an already kind of unpredictable source of income even more unpredictable. I would still say that is definitely the main thing. And then, as Rob mentioned, what the platform pays is like a nice baseline, but is definitely not the most sustainable. And that's kind of unpredictable too, because a lot of it comes down to how many videos you post, how your videos do, which is great, but it's not it would be hard to sustain just off of platform only income.
Yeah, both of you do this full time, right? Like Julian, I know you were a product manager for a while, and then you started doing this. And Rob, you actually did have more of a video background. You were at an agency, and then you were a producer for Righteous Eats, and then now you've been doing this full time for about 2 years, right? More independently.
And yeah, we both do this full time. Yes.
Yeah. You don't have to give me a specific number here if you don't like. I don't know if the IRS is listening, but how much would you say you spent last year on this? Like, obviously, this is something you've brought up already in this conversation. I know it's very important to you that you're a serious journalist, right? You don't take like payment fees from a restaurant to go and cover them, something like that. You don't accept the free meals. I think you've said that if they do like just insist and they give you free food, you're going to give a tip that's equal or larger to the value of the meal they gave you. You don't let them bribe you, basically. But yeah, it's not cheap to do what you do.
No, it's not cheap. It's a lot of money. I spent a lot of money last year. I'm trying to think. Like, I told someone the amount of money that I spent, and they were like, "That's not possible." But then I was like, "I think it is possible." I think I spent something like $90,000 last year just on like food and travel, and like hotels and stuff. And that's all just like investment in the channel. And I think it's paid off pretty well. And then I think on Martinez and Mu right now we're spending something maybe like $3 to $4 grand per episode with the editing,
inclusive of like travel and food as well.
Yeah,
that's not so bad.
No, I mean, we do everything ourselves, right? We don't have a producer. We have an editor, Gabriel, shouts out. But like, we produce everything ourselves. We shoot everything ourselves. We don't send in a second unit to shoot B-roll or anything like that. Like,
you're the first unit, Julian's the second unit, or depending on the day, that's reversed.
Julian's first unit.
Yeah. On this topic, when we were first speaking about doing an episode, you said that you feel proud of how mom and pop your operations are. And that you said this also makes it kind of harder to compete with some of the major food YouTubers, which also you said like Babish, Joshua Wiseman, which these guys have been around for a long time. These are built up businesses. I don't know their staffing, but I'd imagine there's a good amount of staff for both of those channels. It's probably agent, manager, whatever. They've got a lot going on, right? You also told me then that you are committed. You're both committed to being independent, and managers have approached you about signing with them, but you're really committed to remaining independent. And this also, ensures that it remains in some ways harder to compete with those bigger shops. So tell me about this commitment to being independent, why it's so important to you, even though it could cut off more resources.
Yeah, I mean, definitely in the sense of like keeping the stories and what we do exactly what it is. Like for me, like I make series, and the series come into my brain whenever they do, and it's like, oh, this would be good. I want to test it. I want to be able to do it. That's kind of the number one thing for me. When it comes down to like a manager or something, for me, I mean, we've both had a lot of conversations. It's more about finding the right partner, finding the right person that aligns with, you know, how we think about things. And that just hasn't happened. And so it's more about like, it's more about keeping to our foundation, keeping to not necessarily our morals, but just how we go about, how we want to go about our business and our videos. And if we find someone that's aligned, or, you know, I don't want to speak for Rob, but if I find someone that's aligned, like that would work. It's just, I have not found that person. But at its very core, it's so that I can continue trying the ideas and making the videos that I want to make.
Yeah, I think when we talk about being independent on mom and pop, what we're talking about is not having any investors, really. Well, period. We don't have any investors. We're funding everything out of our pocket. For Martinez and Mu, we have no sponsors. So I think that's really important to us, is to have that kind of like creative independence. And we're not in a position where we have a team thinking of ideas for us, or writing for us, or post-producing for us, or pre-producing for us, or there's no studio that we have to go to. There's and those things are things that other people have, you know? Yeah. Like I love Matty Matheson, right? But like he and I are competing in some way on eyeballs, and his resources are a lot different than mine and Julian's, you know? Shouts out to Matty Matheson, massive fan.
Yeah.
But you know, his show's on Netflix now. So it's like, Somebody Feed Phil is on YouTube. How am I supposed to compete with Somebody Feeds Phil? You know? So that's what I mean when I say that we're mom and pop. In terms of an agency or a manager, I think both of us are open to it. We just haven't had, how do I say this? We haven't found the right fit.
Yeah. If you're building your whole video business on platforms like YouTube, here's the uncomfortable truth. They own the audience relationship, not you. That's where Open Video comes in. It lets you host your videos on your own domain under your own brand, so you control the channel, the data, and the direct connection to your viewers. And now with the new Open Video MCP server, you could do even more without taking your focus off of your content. With their MCP server, an AI agent can upload, tag, organize, and even analyze your entire video library from a single prompt. Your video stays yours, the busy work gets automated, and you can focus on creating. Check out Open Video for all the details. That's open.video. In the Philly episode of Feasting on $50, Rob, you have this offhand comment. It's like a 2-second thing. You say, the channel is called Martinez and Mu. I feel like we should call it Martinez versus Mu, which I thought was like, that really stuck with me, because I think you're right. And I think that could even like attract people more, because it is this competition, right? It is this friendly competition that, as we were talking earlier, like you might lose the breakfast or whatever, but it doesn't matter. Like the fun part is like seeing you guys like scramble to try to come up with something, and this friendly game, right? So my question is like, do you ever consider renaming or reframing it, whether it's that way or differently? Because I thought like Martinez versus Mu is a better name. I'm gonna be honest.
I think it's a clear no, right, Julian?
Yeah. I mean, it has kind of transitioned. Like, I think Martinez and Mu came from the genuine, speaking of like doing something authentically first and then having it work well. It just came from a genuine place of, what can we do together? Like, what can we create together? What fun can we have? So very obviously, it's just Martinez and Mu. I think, you know, we are going to do Feasting on 50 for the time being. And it does happen to be Martinez versus Mu. But at its core, it is just like, I mean, you kind of said it yourself. It's like, there's winners and there's losers, but really it's the creation of this video. It's like, how do we play off each other? How does this show work off each other? And that is the big picture Martinez and Mu.
Yeah, and I would say it's sneakily, sure, it's Martinez versus Mu, but it's actually It is Martinez and Mu because Julian and I, our goal as producers, executive producers, is to do well by the city, right? When we sat down to develop a second season, we thought about what is something that people get out of Martinez and Mu that we can't lose ever. And one of the things we wrote down is we go to a city and we always exceed their expectations. So we go to Chicago and we don't do the traditional Chicago episode. We always subvert and exceed people's expectations. And we get comments from people in Boston and in Chicago being like, yo, you put me on. Like, or like I was skeptical in the beginning, but as you guys went on, like you really proved that you guys know what you're talking about and that you can find amazing stuff. And so, yes, it's Martinez versus Mu on the surface level, but the show is actually a collaboration to show the best parts of a city's.
And again, this is a long-term platform where you're building something that is Martinez and Mu. So Feasting on 50 is the main show right now. You have or had another one called Food Duels. There's 2 episodes up there. But when we first spoke, you mentioned you were pivoting away from one of your shows. And also the next time we spoke, you said that you had thrown away 2 fully edited episodes. Are we talking about food duels here? And if so, why did Food Duels slip away?
Threw it in the bin.
Yeah.
Well, Food Duels. So, as you alluded to, we killed 3 episodes of Food Duels that we've shot. 2 of them are fully edited. One of them will never be edited, and I don't think anybody will ever see them unless we like tour them around and do like screenings of them. I'll tell you the story. We had a crash out in New Orleans in an Airbnb where we basically had to have I crashed out in New Orleans. We had to have kind of a come to Jesus moment about Food Duels where I was just like, yo, this show, the comments were pretty bad. The actions, the things that I felt like I were doing in the show were not authentic to me. And I was just like, this is not working. When we originally conceived Martinez and Mu, it was going to be 6 episodes of Feasting on 50 and then 6 episodes of something else and then 6 episodes of something else. What accidentally happened is that people really liked Feasting on 50. And the sequel, they did not like as much at all. I think there was also a misunderstanding of YouTube with that, where what we saw as a weakness with Feasting on 50 was these like side quests that we go on, where we kind of we're not playing the game, you know? And I remember watching the show with my family and feeling like they disconnected during that part. And so we wanted to make Food Duels a show where we were always going to be active, where there's always something to do. There's always obstacles in our way. We're really empowered as protagonists in Food Duels. But I think what ended up bearing out was that we succeeded in that goal, but that goal was not correct because, frankly, YouTube is a little bit more of a passive viewing experience than we had envisioned. So when we watched Food Duels with an audience, it was like, this is awesome. You know, people were watching it on a big screen and like getting into it, and they understood all of the rules and all of the nuance, and they could get into it. But when people are just having it on and maybe they're step out for a second to go like put their lunch in the bin or whatever, or, you know, whatever they're doing, they were missing key things about the game. And every moment was, you had to be watching because we were so active. So I think that ultimately the initial reason for Food Duels to come out to fix problems, it was all wrong. And the things that we thought were problems were not a problem at all. And we're actually, the reason that people like Feasting on 50 is because it felt like you're hanging out with us for a day and it was more comfortable. So yeah, we made the decision to get rid of it.
I think for me, there's like 3 kind of main points, and I take 2 of them pretty much on myself. Where the first one is like, for my short form, I create different series. One, that's because I just love experimenting and trying new things. And I also get bored. So it's a way of me to not get bored of what I'm watching, but also not get bored of what I'm seeing. So I just kind of put that onto long form as well. I was like, well, if I get bored, other people get bored. So let's try to do other ideas. Let's test different things out. So that was one thing. And very clearly, or a big lesson that I learned was like, people love, I mean, exactly what Rob was saying about the GOAT Alvin, who is like my LeBron James. People they follow you for one thing. And so, make that one thing or continue making what people love and what people expect. So that was a huge YouTube long form lesson for me. 2, Rob said this. He was like, it is so hard to create something that people love. We have some people saying like this is their favorite show or one of their favorite shows. And, coming from short form, like people will say, oh, this is one of my favorite series. And then like I'll create a new series and they're like, oh, this is my favorite series. So I was like, oh, it's nothing that crazy. But like for long form, yeah, like creating something that people look forward to watching and look forward to sitting on their couch or in bed watching an episode is super, super rare. And I completely, I didn't think about that. So I think those were 2 of the biggest lessons for me personally for long form YouTube. And the third one specifically for food duels, and Rob touched upon this, is like, when we were talking about scrapping the idea, one of the things was Rob was like, yeah, I didn't love the places that I went to. I didn't love the decisions that I made. And immediately off the bat, I think for a lot of people, it'd be like, choose better places, make better decisions. But you really kind of like, if you dig a little deeper into that, it's that show, or there are some ideas that kind of force you to think one way or force you to make decisions. So it's not even like, ooh, let me make other decisions. It's kind of like, I kind of feel like I have to make these decisions.
The question was wrong.
And
wait, really
yeah,
quick, so
exactly.
I've watched them before, but it's been a while. Is the idea that like we're going to compete on who has the best sandwich or something like that, or we're going to compete who has the best burrito, like category of food?
Yes,
what was the concept?
Yeah, it was kind of like a race to find the best X in a certain city. So because of that, it required us to, 1, get a lot of food, eat a lot of food throughout the day. But it also, like, because it was such a rush, there was a little bit less thinking of like, ooh, this place would be really cool because of this. And it's more like, oh my God, okay, I know this judge probably likes this, let's go here. And it's like potentially one of the more famous places or one of the more popular places. And that's kind of what I mean, where, yeah, I think you said it perfectly. The question was probably wrong, where it's like, why, maybe we need to be bringing the most interesting thing, or how can we showcase ourselves rather than like, oh, this could do really well, let's go get it. Okay, this does really well, and we're kind of just like chasing after each other. And we realized that like we also weren't even really playing off of each other in that new show too.
That makes sense. I mean, Rob, like I think your content specifically, it makes sense that to me that this would grate against what you do so much, because in a way you're not really making videos about food. You make videos about people, right? Like, which is, you are making the videos about the food too, but that's how like in making this show, right? In writing the newsletter associated with this, it's like, I'm writing about people's businesses, but really I'm just interested in like how people move around the world and their values and how that's expressed in the way they do their business. You're doing a similar thing.
100%. I think that was the root of my crash out in New Orleans, was that I am known for going to a specific type of place, and that is what I genuinely enjoy. And this show is creating different incentives that I don't agree with, and putting me in a position where I have to go to businesses that I would never highlight. But because of that, I was able to realize like, oh, I had always said like Martinez and Mu is just a different thing. And then that was the first time where I realized like, oh, it's not different. It's a different side of me, but it's still what I do. It's still thinking about place, and it's still thinking about people, and it's still championing mom and pop businesses. And yeah, and Feasting on 50 was just a perfect vehicle for it. And we have to shout out my fiance Charlotte, who we FaceTimed, and I said, hey, we're throwing out food duels and I'm coming home. And she was like, you've been in New Orleans for 5 days and you're coming home with nothing? Shoot Feasting on 50. And we were like, oh.
Yeah, literally the second, because Charlotte was on speaker, and she goes, why don't you guys have a full day tomorrow, why don't you just shoot a full day of Feasting on 50? And like as she said that, we kind of did that like dramatic movie turn to each other, and we're just like, oh, like, yeah, like, oh, that's actually such a good idea. Yeah, that's exactly it.
We shot a whole episode of food duels for a full day. Came home, I was like, that did not work, that was terrible. Let's pack it up. Charlotte's like, what are you guys talking about? Shoot your other show. And then the next day, we went and shot a whole other full day.
It's a
and we
great
shot
episode.
Feasting on 50.
And that started off season 2, Feasting on 50.
There you go. Do you over the year and a half that you guys have been doing this together, have you changed how each other work? Like when you are alone doing your own thing, not related to Martinez, when you're just doing Martinez or Mu, have you guys like affected how the other one works?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I kind of touched upon this, and this is actually like when I hang out with other creators or when I'm talking to newer creators, the thing that I say is like, it's what's that storyline? I think what my biggest thing that I say now is go watch Rob's YouTube and also post on YouTube Shorts, because what YouTube Shorts forces you to do is write a title on what that short is about. And just that one extra step of having to write a title automatically forces you to think, well, what's the most interesting title? What is this video about? And that is true. I mean, I've said this like 3 times to 3 different people just in this past week. That is one of the biggest tips that I now give people. And in terms of like, I mean, even the show, at least for me, I mean, I watch every episode. We watch every episode so many times. I'm like starting to see where I have a little bit of the mannerisms or conversations that, people may attribute to Rob. And then I'll watch like some of Rob's scenes and I'm like, that's my line, or like, that's my Kate, like something like that. And I was like, wait, this is so great. Like it makes sense, but it's still very much like, it's not like, oh, I'm having this conversation because, I'm trying to replicate Rob's scenes. It is just a very natural thing that I think, came out a little bit more or started showing a little bit more because you also see it on camera, because that's something that Rob naturally does.
Yeah, I think one thing for me that the show has helped with is it's sort of been an amazing excuse to research great cities. And with what I do and with what Julian does, a lot of it is like boots on the ground, going places and finding stories. So it's been great for us to we spent a whole day in Austin just eating we ate like 30 tacos and, visiting barbecue places, or like in Boston, we spent the whole day just wandering around together and like going to places that we'd heard about and talking to people and trying to find stories. And so it's been so helpful for me to be like, when I go to Boston and I actually do my short form work, or if I want to write something for my publication, like I have such a great foundation now, and I have connections because, Manoa Poke Shop, when I filmed there for Feasting on 50, they're in my DMs now. We know each other.
Yeah.
One thing that we do really, really well, and I'm so proud of this part in the Bronx episode, is we always try to talk to the people.
Yeah.
And in the Bronx episode, what's great is that every single place we go to, we talk to an owner and you get to meet them. And I don't think it's always fair to like wander into a business with a camera. I think we're very cognizant of that, and we're happy to shoot the other way or not shoot at all. But it was really cool in the Bronx that everyone was cool with it. Everyone was down to be on camera, and you got to see that aspect of what we do.
One last thing that I'm curious about is the long-term vision for Martinez and Mu, but let's say the next year and a half of Martinez and Mu. We're a year and a half in. What does the next year and a half look like?
Yeah, I mean,
Feasting on 50.
I was gonna say, pretty simple answer. It's just creating more Feasting on 50. We are trying to find ways of I think not evolving it in the sense of like creating a new show or creating different things, but it's like, what are daily specials? What are some more interesting or unique or diverse daily specials can we do? And I think that is just very much at our core who we are too. It's like, it's not necessarily how can we improve this show, but it's like, oh, what are things that we can add? What are fun things that, still match this show, but could be fun for us to do and fun for the user. But yeah, at its core, it's next a bit is Feasting on 50.
Yeah, I think that's a great observation, which is that essentially I think that you'll see the show become even more about place. And so the daily specials are written with the place in mind, and we may play with the format a bit where, this is the version 1, but, like let's say, for example, in Taipei, the entire episode is going to be at night instead of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think that's what we want to do, is we want to think about like how this show reflects place.
Amazing. We'll end it there. Julian Mu, Rob Martinez, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having
Much
us.
Appreciate it.
Cheers. Listener, we'll see you next week.
Hi there, my name's Tom. I'm the producer of the Creator Spotlight podcast. I've just made a playlist on our YouTube channel of our top 10 episodes. So whether you're new here or you've been watching and listening for a little while, check out that playlist to make sure you've seen and heard our top 10 most popular episodes. I'll keep the playlist updated as the top 10 changes. If you're on YouTube, just click on that box over there. That's our top 10.